Dan in Washington, D.C. Since SummerSlam is in Toronto this year, what would you think about them doing a special all-Canadian class for the WWE Hall of Fame? They could induct the Hart Foundation, Christian, Rick Martel, the Rougeaus, and Luna Vachon. I'm not sure what SummerSlam being in Toronto has to do with the Hall of Fame next year. I mean, WrestleMania is in Tampa next year. Unless you're suggesting they do a second Hall of Fame class as part of SummerSlam weekend. I mean, then they'll really burn through a lot of the names they have left. I don't think that's a wise move. I wouldn't do that. But as far as the names you mentioned, I mean, Hart Foundation, they do belong in there. They might go in this year. That was the rumor, that they would go in, Brett, Anvil, and Jimmy Hart. Not the faction, the Hart Foundation, but the tag team. Although everybody in that faction belongs in the Hall of Fame. But yes, the Hart Foundation should get the nod. Rick Martel, he should already be in. I don't know. I'm not sure why he's not. I would put him in, sure. I'd put the Rougeaus in as a team, the Rougeau brothers, not the Quebecers. PCO is in Ring of Honor now anyway. But Ray Rougeau still works for WWE as an announcer. So it wouldn't be too tough to put them in together. And the Rougeau brothers theme music deserves its own Hall of Fame induction. So yeah, I have no problem with them going in. Luna was born here in the States, but I know she was adopted into the Vachon family, and they were up in Montreal, so she's a Canuck, so that's the Canadian connection there. And absolutely, Luna Vachon should be in the Hall of Fame. I'll give you one more. Here's another Canadian name I'd throw out there. Earthquake. John Tenta. He actually, when he came into WWE, he came in initially as the Canadian Earthquake. And then they just shortened it to Earthquake. Kind of like Kane the Undertaker. Became just the Undertaker. But, you know, here's a guy, he headlined with Hogan. He was a tag team champion, was on a bunch of WrestleManias. Outside of WWE, I mean, obviously he had a run in WCW as well, as Shark and all those ridiculous gimmicks from the Dungeon of Doom. But before he ever came to WWE, he had a successful run for a few years in All Japan Pro Wrestling. You know, he was a legit tough guy, real sumo. Yokozuna was an imposter sumo. Tenta was the real deal. He even won the sumo match on Raw once against Yokozuna when they took the ropes down. And I felt terrible when I found out that he passed away. He had bladder cancer. He was only in his early 40s, mid 40s maybe. He had bladder cancer. Treatment didn't work. I remember they tried chemo or radiation. It just didn't work at all. And the tumor spread. And before he died, he joined the old community over at WrestleCrap. WrestleCrap.com used to, I don't know if they still do, had a message board community. And he had done an interview with, oh my goodness, what's the guy's name over at WrestleCrap? R.D. Reynolds. And I remember listening to the interview that Tenta did with R.D. and he just, very deprecating sense of humor, didn't take himself too seriously, just seemed like a really nice guy. And he was able to poke fun at a lot of the silly stuff that he did. And I know the two of them became pretty good friends. And on the message board, they set up a section just for him. He was sick at the time, but he could check the messages. He would interact occasionally with people in there when he was feeling up to it. And just, when I heard that he died, it just hit a lot of people really hard. So anyway, if you're doing a Canadian class, I think you should absolutely consider putting him in there as well. But I just don't think it's something that you need to do as part of SummerSlam weekend. I think the Hall of Fame should be a once-a-year type deal. And every name that I just mentioned, whether it's an all-Canadian class or not, they should be in there.